Okay. Well, hello, everybody.
Hello.
My name is Cameron Lindley Robinson.
My name is Taja Seafus.
And open up those pill bottles, and it's time to take your daily dose.
Hey.
So we are founding members of several organizations now in the Winston-Salem Triad area.
Maybe too many.
Probably too many. In March, we founded and started the In-Between, which is, we'll talk a lot about that later.
Of course.
And then we decided that we wanted to shift into some more nonprofit work. And we founded the D.O.S.E Collective. And one of our core things that we wanted to do was do a podcast for you all.
I'm excited.
Oh.
There's a lot of paper on the table.
Yeah. Some of you can see this if you're watching the video, but we have paper and markers and glue. So we got some fun stuff going on. This podcast is several different things that we want to do. This is the first episode, so it's really just going to be an introduction into the two of us and our work, and then the format of this podcast. And then from here on out, we'll have guests on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just going to be an opportunity for people artists in the area to chat about their work, what they do. And we're going to be creating. So I think that one of the core things about what we wanted to do, right, was actively be creating a piece of art while we're talking about art with an artist.
3 levels of art in
and
one
also and also chat about some current things that are happening in the world in terms of art, particularly with mental health. I know I've said art like 6 times.
I was like,
so
we are going to be creating a zine. I really deep down in my heart want to call it a zine because of being a Vine kid, but it is a zine.
Like magazine.
Yeah. Anyways. But they originally started in the 1930s as a fan magazine, pretty much. So, like, any sci-fi, like, TV shows or comics that were out, like, fans made magazines based off of those TV shows. But it has turned into, like, a radical magazine. A lot of queer people in like the 60s and 70s use it as a way to educate on health for queer people and like queer people activities and drag shows and a whole bunch of other things. But it's really transformed into just doing art for art's sake. Like if you just want to grab a piece of paper and like make a tiny little book and make like a tiny little zine, then you can do that. But some people publish them, some people make them personally for themselves. But we're just going to do a monthly one for the D.O.S.E that we will post digitally. And so, like, we're going to start one right now, and then the next one, we have a guest, they will just add to it, and then we'll post it, and it'll be good.
I would like to add that I do not know anything about zines. I've never made a zine before, so part of this journey is going to be Tasha teaching me what to do. I'm also not really a visual artist in that way.
It's pretty easy.
So I'm excited. No, I'm super excited. I think it's going to be fun.
No stress. Personally, when I do zines, like the last time I did zine was with my friend Monica during the height of the pandemic, because it was something for us to do that made it feel like we were doing something art related. And so before it was just like a word, like Monica would just send me a word and then we would just draw things based on that word, which is a direction that you can take. Like you can choose a word, maybe zine. No, I'm joking. But you can just choose a word and roll with it. But I do want to take a different route, do like a collage, so just like cut out one image and start there.
I'm so sorry, is there a baby here?
Can you hear the baby?
Yes.
Okay.
That's Langston. He's our sound engineer.
Just making sure.
Yeah, so we're recording here at Culture Winston-Salem, which is a space for artists. There's a bunch of studio spaces up here for artists in downtown Winston-Salem in Liberty Plaza. So thank you to Culture for this amazing podcast studio space. And so we're just going to roll with the babies, okay? We're gonna
roll with the babies.
Roll
with the babies. Imagine 2 babies on my fists, and we're rolling with them.
I was more imagining like 2 babies in like a Cadillac.
Oh, and they're rolling.
Yeah.
Are they driving?
Oh, yeah, Cadillac.
Or are they the wheels?
Ooh. So now I'm imagining 4 babies that are carrying a Cadillac.
But yes, so with this, like, I want to take a different direction in terms of not using a word, but starting off with an image.
Okay.
So this, I feel like this is a...
Yeah, I think that's great.
This little...
Maybe describe for our
like
listeners what it is that you're...
This image of a superhero who looks like Black Superman, but...
Like bionic Superman, almost.
Who has a hammer and is crushing racism. Also, majority of these magazines are in a part of Cultural Purchase Sale that they're using as a co-op to have free art supplies, to where if you are an artist and you need materials, whether it be paint or magazines for collage or a canvas, they're trying to gain up supplies to provide those things. So this is where all those magazines came from. We also got some handy dandy glue sticks. I'm telling you, this is also healing my inner child in a sense, because we're cutting and we're gluing and we're...
There is something fun about like doing arts and crafts like this, you know?
And it's purple.
Yeah. You gonna give that a sniff, or... I'm just kidding.
Give it a lick.
Give it a lick. Let me see if it's non-toxic first.
I've picked my image. It's this bear.
Ooh. We got a bear and we got...
I have an image of Kodiak the bear.
Anti-racism Superman. Okay.
Yeah, that works.
I'm sorry. I didn't want to say that he was for racism.
He's an anti-racist.
There we go.
I guess. I don't really know what's happening in that story, to be honest.
I don't know. I didn't read it either.
Great.
Oh, so you're just taking it out without...
Yeah.
Context.
As a designer, I was trained to steal. I see something that I want and I take it.
Okay, this is great. So we actually have some questions that we were going to chat about.
You're like, oh, perfect.
And you're getting into it. So just like we wanted to introduce ourselves to our audience here today. Yeah. We're going to be your crazy hosts. I hope that you can bear with us. So what brought you to art?
I did visual art classes in middle school. I know that's a terrible segue into art. I don't really know how I actually got into theater. I'm going to be real.
Did you do theater in high school?
I did.
Okay.
All 4 years. Well, not the last year.
Why not the last year?
So I did a lot as a high schooler. Not only was I in theater, but I also did school cheerleading, and then I also did competitive cheerleading. So I was doing a lot of things after school. I don't even remember having time for myself, but that's okay. I feel like at that age, it's not important. But it got to the point where I stopped doing school cheerleading because it was too much schedule-wise, because I was getting more involved doing technical theater.
Yeah.
And then it got to a point where competitive cheerleading was actually getting more activity. And so I was like, okay. So it came to a point where like I had to choose between competitive cheerleading or theater.
And you chose competitive cheer?
I chose competitive cheer.
So interesting.
Because it was one of those things where I was like, my junior year, I was like, I do want to go to school for this. So I don't think I need to keep going.
Oh.
But I can't do competitive cheerleading anymore.
Oh, that makes sense.
And so I was like, I'm just gonna finish out with that. My theater teacher did not like that.
No, I can imagine.
I had to have a whole conversation being like, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can have the amount of time.
It's that mentality of like, I have the rest of my life to do this.
No, literally.
So I might as well just do this other thing that I enjoy. That's interesting.
Yeah. I think he was just butthurt because the year that I quit, they were doing The Sound of Music.
Okay.
And it was huge.
Oh, okay.
It's a huge thing.
Ooh, you missed out on The Sound of Music. Ooh.
Well, but the show I did before that I stage managed was Wizard of Oz, and he decided to have elementary school kids as the Munchkins.
Oh, God.
And I was in charge of about 12 to 20 elementary school children.
We are not anti-children on this podcast either.
What, the baby?
The baby, the rolling, we're rolling with the babies. So that's interesting because I feel like I actually did the opposite to get into theater in particular. I did my brother did theater, like always. Like he went to school for theater, and so I kind of, that was like our thing that we did together when we were like kids. But he's my brother is 7 years older than me, so I say when we were kids. When I was a kid, he was a teenager going into college.
He showed you the way.
Yeah, exactly. And so that was something that we did together, and I got really into that. And then, but I also I loved sports. I played like every sport that I could. I played soccer, I played basketball, I played football.
Football?
Yeah, I did. I was really good at football. Actually.
Was it flag football?
It was flag football, yeah. It was flag football. It was an all-girls, I was on an all-girls team, but we played in a co-ed league.
So you had to do the flags.
So, yeah, we did flags, yeah. It was super fun, though. I mean, I don't know if you need to be, like, concussing yourself for sport like that.
I've concussed myself many a time.
I know. But, and so it was a thing where, like, when I was in middle school, I was doing everything. I was doing sports, theater, I took dance, like, all through middle school. And I remember my mom sitting me down when I was, like, about to go into high school, and she was like, you do not have time anymore to do everything.
Oh.
So you need to pick what you want to do.
That's fair.
And I immediately was like, oh, obviously I want to do theater.
Oh.
Like, it's no question. So I didn't do any sports all through high school because I wanted to do theater. And so I focused on theater and dance in particular. In high school, I had this really formative theater teacher at Asheville High School. Shout out CJ Breland if you're listening. I love you. And she, as part of her curriculum for all of her like upper level theater classes, she did a playwriting course. And like I still use what I learned from that class today, like in everything that I write, because that's like probably what I love the most at this point is like writing. And I think from there that's how I kind of got into film, because when I got to college, I could write, and like I feel like film is something you can actually make, you know, like with your friends, which seems weird. Like it feels like it would be the other way, but like with theater you need a lot of space, and you need like an audience, and you need people. But with film, all you need is like something to record on, and like a living room, like someone's house, you know, and you can just kind of do it.
That is true.
So should we just do it like this?
Yeah. Do it. Just
do it like a half piece.
Yeah.
I just feel like that's a lot of space for me.
I'm like
create on.
This is a little bit jarring.
Okay. So I'm just going. There's nothing. I'm just gonna.
Yeah, no, you just go on. You can write some words down.
Okay. This is fun, you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so Taja, what do you consider to be like your chosen craft, like your chosen art? You know?
I would say that it would be design in some way, shape, or form. It's hard because I don't really remember how I got into design by itself. Because I really like interior design, but there's no like pinpoint of memory of like how I got into that, other than The Sims. But
okay, yeah. Classic.
Because for The Sims, I could make an entire character, make a whole sim, build a house from scratch, and then not play the game, and just turn it off.
That is kind of the best part of The Sims, just like the creation. Yeah.
But I definitely would say design is my
and
craft.
Like theater, like film, like do you have a specific one that you prefer?
I think this is the thing that I struggled with in school, because theatrical design excited me because I felt like I could kind of do whatever I wanted. But depending on the show, that isn't necessarily the case.
Right.
And depending on your director, you probably don't get that much freedom. So I guess that's why I kind of like immersive design more than film or theater. Because it's so new that it can really just be anything that you want it to be.
See, what I think is interesting when you say that is that, like, it seems to me like what is interesting to you is not just the design, but also the story, right? Which obviously, as a designer, you should be thinking about the story. But that's why I think that I am happy that you are like delving into writing right now. No, I am, because I think that's such a great, even if it's not something that even if you decide that
Anyways, keep going. I'm sorry.
even if you decide that you don't want to pursue it like that, I think it's a great practice, you know, as a designer, to think about like how story is crafted.
Yeah.
And then how like design goes into telling that story.
Yeah.
I feel like we should tell our listeners and our viewers how we met, Taja. What's your first memory of me?
My first memory of you?
Mm-hmm.
You're asking somebody not with a good memory. I'm like,
I know for a fact the first time we saw each other.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Well, think about the first thing we did together.
I mean, we worked on Mothman, but like,
yeah. So Taja and I met.
I'm like.
I was producing a film in 2019 called Mothman, an anti-hate superhero comedy, which just came out and is available for viewing. I'm going to plug myself here. With my production company, Identiton Productions. So check that out. It's on Vimeo. For free to watch.
Free.
Enjoy.
Free.
About 35 minutes long. I think it's incredible, personally.
Emphasizing that it's free.
But that was a film that was directed by my co-founder of that company and my very, very good friend and partner in a lot of my artistic endeavors, Kamari Bryant.
Hey!
Yeah, he's the best. Shout out Kamari Bryant. Go see Book of Mormon touring.
Yes!
Touring very soon.
Yeah.
He's in the ensemble. He's a very talented and brilliant person.
We love to see.
Anyways.
Black is beautiful.
Black, yes indeed. Yes indeed. Shout out Demeanor. No, I'm just kidding. We'll have to have Demeanor on.
No.
At some point.
Black is beautiful.
We'll have to get Kamari on at some point too. But and you and him worked on, what's the name of that show?
Stu's famous
Soup or something? That's not what it was.
I'm really blanking on that name because it was so long. Anyways, it was just about a Martian kid who was trying to introduce his native food.
Yeah.
It was a very diverse show. But it had its mishaps. Anyways,
that was a children's. It was right. It was 2A, right?
Yeah.
So that was a children's theater experience show.
Yeah.
And Kamari was in that, and you designed that. You designed that, and so that's where the two of you met.
Yes.
Fast forward the next summer, I want to say, and we are looking for production designers for Mothman. And Kamari mentions your name, and we reached out to you, and you were interested. And that's where this all began, you know. So the first time we ever saw each other was on that very first Zoom call. Yeah. Right? There was just there was just a Zoom call that we did where basically you just met us and we chatted with you and we were like, you know, we were to be honest, we were really desperate for a production designer. And we really wanted to work with you. And the rest is history, you know? So yeah, Taja was our production designer on that. She did an incredible job. Everyone go watch it for Taja. And then
I'll go watch it for Cameron.
I didn't do anything on that movie. That's a lie. I did so much on that movie. I guess what we should talk about right now actually is how we kind of came together for the in-between. I think that has a lot to do with like what it is that I think we both want out of our artistry.
Yes.
Right?
I literally I had an idea for an immersive theatrical experience. So like taking elements of like Meow Wolf, taking elements of like Sleep No More, and bringing them together into a mental health journey through a non-binary POC person navigating their mental health through the pandemic, which is a lot. Yeah. Like if you think about it, it's a lot, and it is a lot. Also meeting Cameron for coffee, like I was really just like I had this idea and I really want to do it, but I have no idea where to start. And you were just like, yes. And I was like, oh.
This is something that I like am so, I think is so interesting about the way that I feel like I'm perceived by people. because you're not the first person I feel like who's been like, there's this thing that I want to do, and I don't know how to do it. Can you help me with it? But, which it's very flattering to be viewed that way. I don't know why people view me in that way.
You just have a lot of knowledge.
I'm an actor. I went to, I didn't say this. I went to.
You know what?
I went to, I have a BFA in acting. No, no, and so I remember you texting,
I'm sorry. Anyways,
you texting me and being like, look, I have this idea, like, let's just, grab some coffee and chat about it. We went to Common Grounds in Greensboro.
I got the Bernie Mac, if anybody was wondering.
Oh, I don't remember what I got. And so from there, we decided to create the In-Between.
Oh, yeah.
And how did that start for you? The In-Between.
The company as a whole, or
Yeah.
just doing the whole process?
The company as a whole. Because
where it started, where it started, where we are now, are two completely different things.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it was really the roadblocks. Like, it was really the roadblocks. Like finally putting Quinn like through the process of like, okay, what do we need? How many people do we need? How long is this gonna take? How long is it gonna take to build this? How long is it gonna take to do tech? How long do all these people need to be here? Blah blah, et cetera. And it's like budgeting all of that out, and like during 2020 there was a whole bunch of things going on about fair pay for artists. I feel like that was a huge explosion of like all these companies being exposed, talking about they only pay these people like $7.25 an hour and they don't get overtime and they're working longer than 8-hour days and all this other stuff, and you're like, oh my, you're like, what is happening?
And so I think that we had a big push to create opportunities for artists in the area, especially because you have to think about both of us really were fresh out of school, entering into a world that everything stopped,
Yes.
I feel like we kind of graduated and you try to find your footing when like everyone's working remotely. And it's like, how do I work remotely? How do I work remotely as an artist? You know? Like, what do I do? So Taja came to me and to our other partner, Leo. Shout out Leo.
Leo Marilla.
And we decided that we were going to really create the In-Between to produce Quinn.
Yes.
That was the original intent. And so we were like, well, what do we need? We need money, right? Obviously, that's like what every artist needs all the time.
Yes.
And so we came up with some different fundraising ideas, and the one that really stuck is what we call right brain mode. And that became really our like biggest programming for the In-Between. So we started right brain mode, which is where we created these 4x8, is that right? Are those the right dimensions?
4x8, yeah. 8 feet.
Structures, like canvases, and we take them out to places in the community, and we invite community members to paint on them. And that started as a fundraiser for Quinn, and then we just had such overwhelming positive feedback from that we were like, maybe this needs to really be what we're doing, Yes. So then, how would you say that the company shifted from that point?
At that point, we were very much like, well, there is a need here in Winston-Salem in terms of community engagement, but also like just like raw events, like any like live shows, or if it's like the painting experience, or like just like more like art and creative activities happening. And so taking that leap of being like, okay, so maybe we can take RBM and then like add like live music to it. And so we just started adding bands, and then like we had one event where we added food as well, so we like had a food truck there, and so it was like doing all of the elements, pretty much. Not elements, senses. There we go. I was like, what is that word? So like touching something, so like you're painting something, but you're listening to music, but you're also like eating food, and then you're sensing everything around you. So it's like it's really immersive.
We're incorporating a lot of things, and I think what's great about that is, we experience all the time people that are really not interested in painting because they don't feel like they can do it, which I absolutely understand. And so I think it's good for us to have other options, other ways that you can be involved. So, you know, we have people that come and, you know, we've done jam sessions before and invited people to bring their instruments, and that's always super fun. And yeah, so I think that it really was a response to what the community told us, right? Like, when we created the In-Between, we did not have this in mind. And so from there, we really had to reevaluate, right?
We had to reevaluate.
Like, a lot. And we still wanted the In-Between to be about creating Quinn.
Right.
And creating other, like, immersive experiences. So from there, we decided that we were going to go full nonprofit, and we have created the D.O.S.E Collective, which is just why we're making this podcast today, for your daily dose. Yeah, so we founded the D.O.S.E Collective, and that's, you know, we're currently in the process of creating that and becoming a nonprofit and really getting things started with that. But we, again, responding to the needs of our community, we decided that we wanted to create this podcast because we realized, I mean, we experienced this even last night, that it's impossible to really know what's going on in the artistic community.
No, literally.
There's not really a one place stop where you can learn about what's happening in the triad when it comes to art and artistic events.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to create a platform for that, and also we're both interested in chatting with people about their work and giving people the exposure and a platform to do that. And also I think that we both, I guess I'll speak for both of us, and you can tell me if I'm wrong.
Probably not.
We both have experienced, like, you know, the power of creating. And so that's an interesting way to chat about this scary question. How has your art influenced your mental health, Taja? And it can be positive or negative, because I'm sure it's both.
You're like, I'm sure it's
At
both.
least in my experience.
I mean, it's both good and bad. I feel like in the beginning, especially being in high school, my mentality in high school was, like, completely different. Like, I really, like, did not care. I did not care about anybody's opinions, really.
It's amazing.
I was very, still, like, self-conscious, like, of myself, but, I mean, like, I wasn't really paying attention. Like, if somebody was laughing at me or making fun of me, I still have these blinders to this day. I can't tell if someone is either not interested or interested in me, so I'm just, like, I'm just floating. But in high school, it was, like, worse. Like, I had no perception of anybody else around me.
Gotcha.
I was just there, existing. And so doing art then, I mean, I didn't really care. I didn't know what was a standard, and know what was good and what was bad, technically. And then it was until I get to school, and I go to a school where it's a conservatory. It's all about art in different mediums, different ways. And there are certain ways for you to be successful, and there's certain ways for you not to be successful, and you know all those ways. And so it just becomes stressful. Yeah. And it gets to the point where you're like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore, because I just thought I was supposed to have fun, but now I'm stressed.
Yeah.
For no reason. And low-key ashamed of what I'm doing. But I shouldn't be. And so now it's like, from graduating in 2019, so this is like, what, year 3 of trying to repair just doing art because it's fun, not for profit, and not for the validation of anybody else. Yeah. And that's really hard to do. Because one of those things where it's like, I didn't do the pipeline, you know? I didn't leave here and go to New York and be successful like everybody else. But it's hard when you're still here trying to figure yourself out, but everyone else up there is still thriving and doing the thing that, you know, you're kind of trained to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're like, I don't know, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know if it would make me feel better, but like if I don't know, anybody like from my class or like a professor were just like, you're doing good. Yeah. And you're like, thank you.
Yeah, that validation, you know?
That's all it really takes. Like, you are doing good because you are living and you're breathing and you're experiencing life and you're still here. So thank you. And you're like, that's all I need. Really?
And it really is interesting how success is viewed
Yes.
in the artistic community, particularly like in an educational setting.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I had a lot of people who graduated from my program and they're teaching now. And there's this weird thing that I feel like happened where we were supposed to feel like we failed because we're in that place. Like, I don't know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
But
it does feel like failure.
But it's like, that's like the most noble and incredible thing that a human being could be doing with their knowledge.
Teaching.
Sharing it. And I guess it feels like a failure because you don't make any money doing it. Like, maybe that's what it is.
It's one of those things of like, again, like just as a human being and as a person, you just gotta build up that confidence. And I hate that I have blinders in some situations and others, but I should have a blinder to the point, art related, that I could just do whatever I want and everything else will follow. That's what my mom would tell me.
You kind of decide what it is that matters to you.
Yeah.
And then part of your integrity as an artist is maintaining that, right?
Right.
And so, it's really important to me to, and this feels so silly to say, but to feel good about what I'm creating. Like, on a very basic level. Like, if I'm part of a process, I want to feel good about it. I want to be excited about it. I don't want to, because like at the end of the day, it's just art, It's not rocket science.
Yeah.
It's not, we're not solving the world's problems, but also in a different way we kind of are in its own way. But I don't think that like the kind of art that is helping people happens when people who don't feel good about what they're doing are creating. Mm-hmm. Because I think so much of, especially going to school for art, is expectation. Is like, you're expected to do this, you're expected to graduate, and you're expected to do this, and once you agree to a process or a project, you're expected to follow through no matter what, and there's this weird thing that happens there where you kind of lose yourself in that, or at least I lose myself in that. I'm a yeser. I say yes to everything, to a fault, and so that's really, I think, what I've been working on in terms of how art and my work influences my mental health.
Yeah.
You want to do a little update? How's your zine coming?
Pretty good.
It looks amazing. Yours looks so good.
I'm like,
That's Taja's.
Can I have a piece of paper?
What color would you like?
We got every
we got green, orange, brown, purple, red, yellow, pink.
Let me get that orange. Right there.
That orange.
There you go.
Thank you. Let's hope this works.
I like yours.
This is what mine looks like.
Little magazine girl tag.
I also want to talk about our techniques here because they're different, I've noticed. I don't know if you've noticed that. Taja rips the entire page out and then cuts it.
Yeah.
No, I think that's actually better.
Ripping it out?
Because I just cut out the part of the image that I want, and so that leaves the magazine with like just
a hole
in it.
Just a random piece just
so,
to the wind.
I think that's just an interesting thing to take note of is our techniques. There's a lot of technique involved in what we're doing here. This is an interesting question that we talked about before this podcast, which I want to hear your response because I don't feel a particular way about this. Why Winston-Salem?
Oh, that's right. This question. And I was like, I have plenty.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking.
I'm super curious. And I also want to know why did you want to start these companies
in Winston-Salem?
I
feel like Winston-Salem is more malleable than any other city in North Carolina. And maybe that's a really big statement, but I've only ever lived in the Triangle and the Triad. But also, I feel like Winston-Salem needs this, in a sense. It's one of those things of, like, holding the title of the City of Arts and Innovation, and then also, like, having the oldest arts council. Like, it's just, like, there's a lot of history here, but there also needs to be a lot of movement in terms of moving forward. And with that, there's plenty of room for Winston to do that. And it's hard because it's like you hear a lot of stories from other people that have been here for a while. They're like, yeah, like there was like a live music scene here, but it dissipated, or it went to Greensboro, went here, went there. But I'm just like, is there like, but no one knows the reason why people leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, do you know?
You gonna add?
I might actually have a bit on why it left
Okay.
outside of maybe a corporate idea.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Because I got no insight on that. But at my day job, I work with a lot of people who are Winston natives, and they were part of those scenes growing up, right? Like the like predominantly punk scenes amongst the people I work with, and they said at least one of the reasons why it died out was, God, I hope I'm not accidentally putting something on blast here.
No.
Like the older, like the bands that were the creators of the scene at the time, this might actually be good to hear, is that they didn't let go and let new kids take over the scene.
Oh,
So
interesting.
So the scene got stale.
Yeah.
And then it died.
That's so because if there wasn't the opportunity, go somewhere else. That's kind of what you do.
That is it's a real thing. Yeah.
Interesting.
It makes a lot of sense. There are a lot of traditional things that have been in place for a very long time.
Yeah.
And so people probably don't want to see those change or necessarily leave. But it's like, I don't think those things are going to leave. We're just trying to add something new.
Yeah.
But was that all the...
Well, I was going to move into... part of what we wanted to do with this podcast was each of us were going to kind of volunteer each week to do a little bit of research.
Oh, that's right.
And something that's intriguing us. And I think that, in particular, the focus of this podcast has a lot to do with how art and mental health intersect. This is a very broad idea of what that means. I think that I took it in my own way, and I feel like you're going to take it in a different way. But I came across some articles on the interwebs that talk about what it means, what a hobby is. Like, what is a hobby? And I think the interesting thing about artists is that, like, if you're someone who is pursuing art in a professional sense, you literally like had a hobby that you loved that you then decided, I'm gonna try to do this for a living.
Yeah.
Which is like bananas, like absolutely insane. And so I came across some articles that were chatting about hobbies and the power of them, in particular how like hobbies have changed post-COVID.
Yeah.
So the first article that I read was called Why Every Artist Needs a Non-Art Hobby, written by Vicky Rubin. Shout out Vicky. And in this article it discusses how people who choose art as a profession, in particular, and like everyone in the world, experience burnout when it comes to their craft. Right? But the interesting thing with that is that their profession is something that is viewed as like a hobby, or like something that's just fun. It's like, why are you experiencing burnout when you literally go to work every day and paint, or you go to work every day and you make movies? Like what is that? That there's a disconnect, I think, with people that haven't worked professionally in an arts career. They don't get that. And so this article is talking about, as a way of protecting one's mental health when they are a professional artist, everyone should have a non-artistic hobby, which I think is really hard.
Yes.
We've been hearing there's this huge trend happening, right, in the professional world of like quiet quitting and like working your wage, like all of that.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's really been a turn post-COVID where we're seeing workers not being willing to work for free anymore.
Yeah.
And that's something that's been expected of artists since the beginning of time, basically. And so this article, I know that's a huge tangent aside from what this article is really talking about, which is the neurological and scientific power of having a hobby, having something that you do that is fun in your leisure time that isn't work. And so this says, in the science of creativity, much has been written about opening new neural pathways. Creating art does this by itself, but if you're already an artist, you might need something different, or to experiment in a new artistic discipline to reap some of those benefits for your own creativity. I'm going to keep talking, but if you want to interrupt me at any point, do that. If you find something interesting, I have some questions for us at the end of this.
Ooh.
Because I found a second article, which was just about hobbies in general for everyone, not just artists. In particular, hobbies post-COVID. Oh my gosh, you're going into the middle. Oh man. Okay, I got work to do. I'm sorry, I see you over here like...
Oh!
So, this article is called The Life-Changing Power of Hobbies by Dominic Lamberton. And in this article, it basically outlines how having a hobby lowers the risk of depression, anxiety, and other mental health concerns. And it discusses how COVID created a rise in what would typically be considered an old-fashioned hobbies. So it says, in the past 18 months, as COVID restrictions put further constraints on us, hobbies have become even more vital for our mental health. To maintain routine, provide richness and enjoyment, and manage stress and anxiety. And as floor hockey leagues and in-person choir practices were halted, and after all the loaves of sourdough had been baked, many people opted for solitary outdoor activities such as fly fishing, bird watching, and stargazing, all of which have surged in popularity since March 1999. March 2020. I don't know why I said
1999.
So just like the big things that I think are interesting about this topic and how it's really been surging in popularity, like this idea of finding new hobbies post-COVID. But I was thinking about how, and I typed this up for myself, there should be an acknowledgement by those seeking art are seeking out careers in arts industries that you're leaving the realm of your art being a leisure activity.
Yeah.
You know? What is the divide between your job as an artist and your enjoyment as an artist? Are there certain things that you consider hobbies that you don't do professionally? Like is there a line there for you, or does it kind of bleed together? Because I think for me, it absolutely bleeds together.
It does.
You know?
So I feel like that's the thing that I struggle with, and that I try to do. Like I come up with a craft, and I'm like, oh, like these glasses chains, or crochet, or.
Oh yeah, and then you're like, how do I monetize this?
Yeah,
and it's like, why are we thinking that way? You know?
Like, how come I can't just make this just to make this?
And just enjoy it.
After already being burnt out from being educated in art.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, now it's time for you to implement it. And you're like, okay, feel like I'm a little bit tired, but I'll give it a shot. And you give it a shot, and you're like, all right, still tired. I'm like, is there anything else? And then trying new things and just different outlets and different forms of art, and you're still sitting here and you're like, okay, I'm still tired. So it's hard. So I still want to do art, but it's like, how do I get out of burnout?
Yeah.
And then start anew.
Yeah, and that's like, you know, they say the only way to really get over burnout is to literally stop.
And you know, there's just not enough time.
And how do you do that? Like you can't work your way out of burnout. And then another thing that I was thinking, question-wise, how do you feel about monetization when it comes to art? If you're living in a world where the driving force behind what you're creating is like, how can I use this to make money? I think that does have an impact on the art that exists in the world.
Yeah.
You know? Like there's all of those, I feel like there's all of, I see a new article every day about like, this is how an AI can create art.
Yes.
You know?
I see this all the time.
Which is so interesting.
Which is really scary to me.
Yeah?
I'm not gonna lie.
Why is it scary?
I don't know. It's like that never, like that impeding doom that I'm gonna be replaced by a machine.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I first read that working at McDonald's. Before those kiosks were there, I was literally a part of that transition of them putting the kiosk there.
Oh,
and me having to be a worker to stand there to explain to people how to use the kiosk. There'd be regulars that would just come in for a sausage biscuit and a hot coffee. And they would be coming in, I'm like, hey, I'm like, so we're not doing the regular register anymore.
Oh, and they hate that. Oh, they
and
hate
so
it.
I need you to come to the kiosk, and they're like, no.
Yeah.
They're like, I need you to take my order.
Yeah,
And I'm like, if you could just use the kiosk. Like, no. I don't know how to work it. I don't even use my phone like that. If I could just tell you what I want. I'm like, it's all right. It's all right. There was a video game. I forgot what that video game is called. There was a clip of it on TikTok. And literally, it was of, like, the creation of one of the AI, like, people. And, like, I guess she was having, like, a whole conversation with whoever was controlling her in the machine. And asking, like, basic questions. But I think it was one of the questions of, like, can you feel?
Oh,
and
my
she was
God.
like, I mean, yeah. Like, I think she said something along the lines of, like, yes, like, I can feel things. And so he pressed the button to do the reverse. And so literally she was still alive. And, like, literally, like, the machine was just taking off, like, taking the legs off and, like, everything, like, going to dismantle her. But she was still fully, like, aware. And she started freaking out. And then, like, he stopped when she was like, I'm scared, please stop. And, like, he stopped because she was scared and she was visibly crying. And I was like, that scares me. For you to create a machine and it has
You give it feelings.
like, I'm like,
So,
oh my. Anyways,
This is an interesting. My favorite novel of all time
of all time.
is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley.
I don't know why.
And that's literally, like, the entire, like, thesis of that book, right? Is, like, what is your responsibility to the thing that you've created?
Yeah.
What is our responsibility to the AI that we're creating?
I mean, to raise it like a child. Like, you need to show it the world and what is right and what's wrong. And if they question it, then you're like, we all do.
So
you're
then
like,
should we be creating it is the question.
No,
That's the
probably
responsibility.
not.
You don't think so?
we're not advanced enough for this as humans. If
We're-
we can barely understand ourselves and heal ourselves, then we should not be creating
Something else?
something else. We need to fix what's already here first.
Well, maybe
please.
that's how we fix ourselves.
By creating more
Yeah.
people.
So how's everyone's zine coming along?
Add us some tape.
Oh, that's fun. Oh, I love that.
I'm like, see, little tiny tape.
I just started
It's
putting shit
okay.
in, putting stuff
Do
in.
you tape?
I will get there,
Okay.
but I have a fish.
Oh,
And it's wearing a hat.
that. Oh my god.
It's going on a little picnic.
I did some just, let's see, some little pluggy things. We obviously, as the in between, have some events coming up. We would love for people to show up for September 17th.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing a right brain mode right here where we are in Culture Winston-Salem.
Just around the corner.
You guys, check out Culture Winston-Salem. There's a lot going on over here.
There it is.
If you are an artist in need of studio space, check out Culture Winston-Salem. Super affordable. It's a great space to be in. And it's just very inspiring, I feel like, to be surrounded by other artists.
Everybody's working.
So yeah, and so what we did, so we've had 2 events here in Culture Winston-Salem so far. Zach was kind enough to give us a wall that we could paint. So rather than painting on a canvas, we are painting on the actual wall of this room here in Culture. So if you would like to add to that, come check it out. That is, like I said, September 17th. And then that next Saturday, the 24th, we'll be at Hoots Flea Market with a canvas. So yeah, come out to that and paint. That will be super fun. There's going to be a lot of vendors out, and you can paint with us, get a beer, walk around, buy some cool stuff from some of those vendors. I'm sure there's going to be music.
So there is some events at Sika. So Paul Bright has a exhibition called Matter of Style. It's collage-based works using found material. So that closes on October 30th. So it's already in session as we speak. And then on September 15th at 6 p.m., there'll be a gallery talk with him and David Houston. And then on September 23rd at 6 p.m., it'll be Bossa Moda Point 2, a live decollage fashion event at Bailey Park. That sounds kind of cool.
Right? We should go to that.
I'm like, whoa, decollage. Or just like putting clothes together.
Yeah.
Collage of
It
clothes.
seems like what his thing is like piecing things together from like found materials. So that's interesting how that intersects with fashion, you know?
Yeah. Putting multiple pieces of clothing together to create one piece. Or multiple pieces.
Or multiple
2 pieces, 3 piece, 4 piece.
So that's an art exhibit happening in Winston-Salem. We want to shout out some other stuff happening in Greensboro and High Point. So in Greensboro at the Green Hill Center for NC Art, they currently have the Presence, North Carolina Figurative Artists. That opens July 23rd and it runs until November 5th. It's my mom's birthday. Happy birthday, Mom.
Hey.
So, according to the website, the show, which features work by 25 NC artists, is a major survey exhibition of 2- and 3-dimensional figurative works in a range of approaches from realistic to symbolic, used to explore experiences and emotions that reach to the heart of the human condition. So that's happening in Greensboro, and that's all featuring NC, all North Carolina-based artists. So that's kind of interesting.
So in High Point, there is an event at Seacrest Gallery of Art at High Point University. It's called Two Cardinals in the Thicket. It is a 2-part photographic series by Parker James Reinecker that explores themes of human ecology, navigation, and how a landscape shapes its own identity. The show opened on August 22nd and it runs through September 23rd. And then in Winston, we do have 2 shows on the Arts Council campus. So there's 39 Steps by a Little Theater that runs September 9th through the 18th in Haynesbrand Theater. And then 40 Plus is doing a show called Rhonda's Rites of Passage that is September 30th through October 9th. And that is in the Mount Castle Forum, which is in the Milton Rhodes Center of Arts.
And I want to say that that's an original work. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that is an original play.
I'm intrigued. Okay.
So that could be super fun, and we're constantly looking for other ways and other things that we can shout out and talk about. We're working to compile a pretty comprehensive list of artistic music, art, theater, things happening in the Triad. So if you know of anything going on, please let us know. If you work for or run, manage, operate, own a bar that has music performances or some kind of, weekly event that you do, we would love for you to reach out and we can put you on our calendar so that there's a nice one-stop, easy place to find stuff going on in the Triad. Mm-hmm. There's lots of small resources, and we're certainly not trying to take away from those. Mm-hmm. But I think we have experienced quite a bit in the past few weeks trying to find things that are going on. And I feel like you have to look in so many different places, especially if you're just like, I'm interested in anything. What is there?
Yeah.
It's like there's a lot to search through. So all that's to say that we're gonna continue to work to shout out some things that are happening in the area. And if you know of anything going on, like I said, please let us know. We would love to add you to our calendar of events. How was your zine coming along, Taja?
Pretty good. I feel like I'm at a good stopping point.
Okay.
But, I mean...
Yeah?
I can't really think of anything else. I wish I had a newspaper, that's the thing.
Ooh.
If you don't already follow us on Instagram, at D.O.S.E Artist Collective, at D.O.S.E Artist Collective, you'll find all the updates for our podcast, events in the area, and any events that we do. If you're feeling generous, you want to donate money, we have a Cash App, same thing, just with the cash sign in front of it.
and stay on the lookout for, we are very, very new as a nonprofit, but we have a lot of ideas of events that we want to be putting on in the area. So please give us a follow just so you can kind of stay in touch with what is going on. We have some fun stuff. We had a really exciting meeting yesterday about something that we'll hopefully be able to do in this upcoming spooky season. So, so yeah, thank you for. Oh well, actually, how's your zine coming along, Langston? Guess we need the full update. Okay.
Ooh. Are they carrying that now?
Yeah, we got 2 babies carrying a Cadillac.
2 babies carrying.
We're rolling with it. We're rolling with the babies.
And then we've got us over here in this room, and then DJ Baby behind us.
Nice. All right.
And I think I don't know who that is. That might be Zach.
Yeah, I think that is Zach.
It's really giving Zach vibes.
It is.
Do you know what type of fish that is?
Fish kind.
Nice. We love art.
Oh yeah.
We love it.
Yeah.
Ay.
I love it. I love it.
We love art.
I got a bear. Girl talk.
Go talk.
Some tools. We got some stairs over here. And then you open it up, and there's like a little chill vibe space.
Ay. Vibe space.
Vibe space.
Vibing it.
We're vibing. We got Charlie Chaplin.
Ay.
We got a chair.
Charles Chaplins.
We got some people over here. I feel like I need to put someone in the chair. So
A baby.
if you want to see, how these zines turn out, maybe give us a follow.
Yeah. Follow us on social media. Subscribe to our Patreon.
Yes. Oh yes. Exclusive content coming your way if you subscribe to our Patreon. So get on that. And yeah, I think that. Is there anything else you want to say, Taja? But yeah, thank you all for listening. I hope that this was enjoyable for you. Anything else you want to say, Langston? Langston is giving a thumbs up.
If you can hear this, thumbs up.
That was a thumbs up from Langston.
The thumbs up.
All right. Woohoo.